Hey guys, are you looking for a sportsbook that you can trust? Well, look no further than mybookie.ag, where you can get a 50% match on your initial deposit of up to $1,000 when you use promo code DFSArmy. As a bonus, when you use promo code DFSArmy, you also get a free month of DFS Army VIP and DFS Army Beat the Bookie membership. That's a $100 combined value. So we'll help you with your daily fantasy sports and we'll help you with your handicapping. Free when you sign up for mybookie.ag using promo code DFSArmy.
In 2015, an elite DFS Army Commando unit formed to bring high-level DFS strategy to the masses. Today, hated by DFS sharks and lineup sellers alike, they continue their quest to turn Joe into DFS pros.
What is up, and welcome to the off-season edition of the DFS Army Fantasy Football Breakdowns podcast. And we're back to do a way too early evaluation of rookie talent coming into the 2019 fantasy football season. I've got the man himself with the plan, Season Long Says, on the line. What's up, Says?
What's up, man? It's been a little bit too long since we've done this. We busted out a way too early podcast on January 1st of this year, but it feels about right to get ahead of the curve a little bit and start talking about the rookies that are going to be infused into the draft pool.
Absolutely. You know, the NFL draft was just about a week or so ago, and we had about a week to kind of absorb, feel things out, get a sense of things, make some trades in our dynasty leagues. What? And now, I think we could get a pretty good feel for, at least an early feel for, number one, in dynasty leagues, kind of how things are going to go and play out with this rookie class. And also, we can also get into a little bit, so I think we'll focus a little bit more on kind of the dynasty aspect this early in the draft, and also talk about some of these players that have been drafted, situations, and who is going to be fantasy relevant. There's a few of these guys, not too many, but a few that I think will be fantasy relevant in year one. So let's just get started. And the first position we always want to look at is a running back position because it is the easiest to quickly transition to the NFL and make an impact. So tell me about some of these top guys, Alan, that came off the draft. We've got a couple of big names. Josh Jacobs comes to mind. Maybe, I guess, Miles Sanders from the Eagles. Who's your top guy in this draft class, and where do they belong, let's say, in a best ball / season-long format, as well as in a dynasty format?
Well, different than years past, we only had one running back in the actual first round of the real NFL draft, and that was Josh Jacobs, who went to the Raiders at pick 24. And even that was a little bit of a stretch by most consensus people in the industry, but I think the real money is made in round 2 and 3 with running backs. I think those are the running backs that are picked to start. Now, in years past, we've had players like Zeke Elliott and Leonard Fournette go in the top 10 picks, top 5 picks of drafts, and those guys were no-brainers at the top. But I think the debate is open a little bit more, and we're going to have to look at opportunity as a great equalizer and in addition to talent. But I think opportunity, because a lot of the players that were drafted ended up in situations where they're not going to be the lead guy and they're going to have to wait for an injury to occur or a camp battle to develop. So I think the industry consensus is that Josh Jacobs is RB1. I see it a little differently. You'd mentioned Miles Sanders. He's the guy that I'm focused on. And I can tell you, so right now for Dynasty and for Best Ball, I have Miles Sanders as my RB1.
Wow. That's interesting. All right, so let's talk about these two guys, because I actually think they're the only two super relevant running backs in this entire class, at least for year one.
There's 3 guys, and we have to include David Montgomery who went to the Chicago Bears, and I think those 3 guys make up tier 1, and I think that you're going to have. I think consensus will be Jacobs, and we'll get into the discussion. but we can't leave Montgomery out of that tier.
Well, we could throw him in there, obviously, and discussing some of the. I don't know that Montgomery's obstacles, let's say, are that different from the obstacles that we're going to see with Miles Sanders. So let's just start at the top, and let's talk about situation, size, everything. So we'll start with Jacobs, right? 5'10", 220, first-round draft pick, not super fast, 4.60 40-yard dash. So okay for a running back, but not jumping off the page.
Now, what happened was people were really dialed into what Jacobs was going to run the 40. Nobody expected it to be a 4.6. I think people were thinking 4.4, 4.5 and change. 4.6 was a bit of a disappointment. So what usually happens when someone underdelivers at the combine with a 40-yard dash, the truthers of that particular player will start citing the tape. This happened with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook had amazing tape at Florida State a couple years back, but didn't do well at the combine. So again, it's where do you go with the metrics? I mean, how many 40-yard runs does a player really get?
I don't think that. I mean, I don't think that's what the 40-yard dash necessarily is trying to measure. But at the same time, I'm of the mind personally that straight line speed is not the ultimate gauge of what makes a running back good.
I think a 20-yard dash, a 15-yard dash would be a little bit more relevant, or an 80-yard dash.
Or some of the agility drills. Like, agility is pretty much...
Yeah. Now, Jacobs, like I said, didn't blow anyone away. Didn't get a lot of carries at Alabama. I mean, he was not even the lead back on his team. Damian Harris, who ended up going in the third round to the Patriots, and we can get into that a little bit later. But Jacobs wasn't the lead back on his own team.
I always have such an issue with that, and the guy, if you're not the star of your college team, to come up into the big show and then be expected to be leaned on as a workhorse is a little bit scary. There's some risk here.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So that if there's risk there, what's the differentiator between him and Miles Sanders? So Miles Sanders was drafted by the Eagles. People are quick to point to that the Eagles always use a committee, and that's been true. But usually, just because something's true doesn't mean it's going to be true. They hadn't found a running back in the last handful of years, last half decade, that really fit that role. Ryan Matthews was too fragile. Jay Ajayi last year was not known as a pass catcher. Darren Sproles, we know, was never meant to be a 25-touch running back. I think they've arrived at what they believe is going to be a three-down back with Miles Sanders. This guy looked great on the tape at Penn State. The only reason he didn't play a lot the year before, guess who he was backing up? That's right, Saquon Barkley. When you're Saquon Barkley's backup, you're not going to see the field a ton. This is the year, this past year in college, where Miles Sanders lit it up, and he was recognized as one of the top backs in this class, and I think he's in the offense. We always talk about the offense where they land, that I wouldn't bet against Philly to be the top scoring offense in the NFL. They have to be one of the 5 favorites to finish as the top scoring NFL offense.
And even though perception isn't quite the same as the opportunity perception with the Raiders, you look at the Raiders and say they don't have a running back, right? And whatever, Crowell is now gone, so they brought back the carcass of Doug Martin, whatever. They don't have a running back. So this guy's going to get a lot of opportunity there, but of course they have a third down guy, and no one really talks about it. But the Raiders, if you look at the way they play, they go to Jalen Richard in a catch-up mode. It's not that far off from what the Eagles do with their, committee situation. So, yeah, I don't know if maybe Jacob's situation is as great as people might automatically assume. And I'm not sure that Montgomery's situation, or not Montgomery. I just jumped away from him.
Miles Sanders.
That Sanders situation is as bad, being with the Eagles and a very well-known committee team. Maybe it's not as bad as people think. All right, so speaking of these two guys, now, let's talk about the third guy here. We've got, and these are really the only 3 really, truly fantasy-relevant year 1 running backs. So, where is he?
Talking about Montgomery?
Yeah, or the Bears guy, Montgomery.
Yeah, no. David Montgomery. He went to the Bears in the 3rd round. Now, he was looked at as one of the top 2 or 3 RBs in this class He's a power guy. He's a 3-down back. He can do it all. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball in tough situations. The problem, and I think the reason he was drafted, is not to replace Tyreek Cohen on third down. They're still going to use Cohen on third down, and his critics will say, well, that means Montgomery's not going to get any third down work. I disagree. I think that when Jordan Howard was on the Bears last year, it was a tell that they were running. And when Cohen was in the game, it was a tell they were passing. Now what they're going to do is use Montgomery. They're not going to be as predictable. Cohen's going to be on the field at the same time, in my opinion. Maybe a little bit out of the slot, maybe double running back formations. They're going to use Cohen more as a gadget player. Let's call it a Darren Sproles meets Percy Harvin at his peak. That's how I see this going down. Miles Sanders is a 3-down back with the touchdown upsides there. Cohen's not going to steal away his touchdowns. Now, the Bears did sign unrestricted free agent Mike Davis, who had a really good year with the Seahawks last year, but he's a backup.
Yeah, I'm not worried about some guy that the Seahawks let go. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And if you believe that Trubisky's going to take a step forward, that the Bears offense is on the come up, you got to like David Montgomery. In best ball drafts, do you know where these guys are going?
This is where I was going next with these three guys. So, being that you're very heavily into best ball drafts, let's talk about where these guys are now, these three, because again, everybody else is kind of super sketchy. So with these three guys, we're talking best ball. We got our 3 running backs. Opportunities, all 3 will play this year. Where are these guys going in best ball leagues? And behind who? And I always have my Lamar Miller sort of threshold. Right. Is any one of these guys above the Miller threshold?
Right. Well, I think all of them.
Wow.
Well, there's no upside with Lamar Miller, even though Lamar Miller is a guy you draft and you're never happy you did. Now, when the price was second round, third round, you felt like you got robbed from. When the price was in the 5th round, you were uninspired. The price of Lamar Miller has gone way down to the 6th and sometimes even the 7th round. So we're okay taking him. Josh Jacobs is going in the 4th round. Now, again, it may have come off like I don't like Josh Jacobs. I do. But my point before was I'm not differentiating much between Sanders, Montgomery, and Jacobs at all. And I think the Philly offense is the best of the 3. Jacobs is consistently going first of the 3 of them. So I'm not drafting Josh Jacobs. What I'm doing is the best way somebody put it to me was I'm using Josh Jacobs as a pop-up timer. When Josh Jacobs goes off the board, okay, my antenna goes up. I need my next pick. I need to grab either Sanders or Montgomery. In the latest best ball I just did, I'm in round 8 currently. Mm-hmm. I was looking for a 3rd running back. I went Sanders. I think Jacobs went the end of round 5, and I took in the beginning of round 6, I took Sanders. Montgomery went in the 7th round, right in the middle. So that was one specific draft, but I think that's been the order.
Yeah, I mean, that seems fair in best ball leagues. And now let's bring it around to, I'm not sure if we can bring it all the way around to Dynasty, but in Dynasty, people love their running backs. Do you think Jacobs is worth the top overall pick, or do you forego? And I'm not talking about 2QB. We know who the number 1 pick is going to be in a 2QB league. But
yeah, that's obvious. We go Kyle Murray in a 2QB. But in a 1QB league where you're starting 3 receivers in a flex, I think most people will take Jacobs 1.1, but take the guy you like. If I had picked 1.1 and I needed a running back, I'm taking Miles Sanders. But I know that necessarily wouldn't be everyone's pick. If somebody took David Montgomery, I couldn't hate on it. And then obviously there's a couple wide receivers that are worth that number 1 overall pick. This is a very interesting year where pick 1 and pick 6, sure, there's guys, managers are going to have a different, an opinion on each one of these, but I'm okay with landing any of these top 6 guys. And the same holds true for pick 7 through 15. I can't really differentiate between the 2. Now, one of the guys in the top 6 is going to be amazing, and 3 of them are going to be horrible. I mean, that's just the law of averages.
That's the bummer. Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer to have the first pick this year, really.
Well, yeah, right, because there's no Todd Gurley, Zeke Elliott at the top. I understand that. But this is what makes it fun. This is what makes the pick more tradable. Because somebody in your league is going to fall in love with Josh Jacobs. Somebody else in your league is going to fall in love with one of the receivers, probably N'Keal Harry.
Well, let's get right into the receiver position because we don't have that much time here,
right.
And we don't want to.
I didn't mean to not answer your question. I personally would not take Jacobs 1.1, but yeah, it's a perfectly good pick. So go ahead with the receiver.
All right, so let's jump over to the wide receiver position. And again, I want to focus in for the purpose of this one because we can't dive too deep in depth with this massive draft class. But let's focus in on a couple of the top names that you're going to hear people say. And I think you mentioned what I believe is possibly the consensus favorite across the board at wide receiver, even though he wasn't the first one taken, and that's N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, N'Keal Harry is wide receiver one in the class, and it's strange because I don't see him that way, and I know a lot of people do. I know he's on the Patriots. He was a first round pick. He's got Tom Brady throwing to him. I mean, his detractors are quick to point to, wait a second here. The Patriots haven't really had a good round one receiver in a long time. Now, the first receiver off the board in the real NFL draft was Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, who, by the way, is Antonio Brown's real cousin. That's his actual cousin. I thought the Steelers might troll him and take his cousin, but that would have been a whole interesting thing. I'm not sure, how long is Tom Brady going to play if you're talking about a dynasty?
Tom Brady's got 2 seasons left. Boom.
I mean,
done.
I mean, who knows? He could have 4.
No.
He could have 1.
Yeah.
But point is that when we're talking about dynasty, we don't, who's the QB after Brady? N'Keal Harry could end up playing with poor quarterback play, and then you're pissed that you took him.
Well, listen, the other guy that you mentioned, we know he's going to play with bad quarterback play. So I mean.
Yeah, no, I don't think Marquise Brown is a top 5 pick. He actually has a foot injury. He may not be in training camp to start. I mean, they took him knowing that he had the Liz Frank.
But I mean,
we'll see.
He's a lock to be playing with a bad quarterback. Not to mention the guy's 167 pounds. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Isn't he bigger than that? You have the metrics in front of you.
5'9", 166. I mean, he's tight.
Okay, so I mean, he was the fastest. He is the fastest of the whole group. Parris Campbell ran the fastest 40 time because he actually ran the 40. But, I'm not against – Hollywood Brown is probably Deshaun Jackson plus when he starts playing, which is a great pick. I mean, Hollywood Brown is going to – he can get past the defenders. Someone's going to end up with him in the late first round and be happy about it eventually.
You know who I think he is, by the way, and I don't agree with the Deshaun Jackson. I think he's Paul Richardson. He was taken too high. He's too small for the NFL, and he's going to bust. That's my opinion on Hollywood Brown. He's 5'9", 166 pounds. This man is too small for the NFL. If these numbers, I mean, they're almost unbelievable.
Yeah, that usually the threshold is around 180. But you have your Taylor Gabriels. Now again, you don't want your first overall wide receiver to have the career of Taylor Gabriel. You actually want that guy to make some Pro Bowls. I think Hollywood Brown is.
Wait, can I throw out another one? It was the guy the Jets wanted to draft. He's on the Cowboys now. Oh, fuck. I can't remember his name.
Wait, hold on. You're talking about a wide receiver that the Cowboys drafted?
No, the Jets were going to draft him. He was not drafted by the Jets. I think he went to Tampa, and now he's on the Cowboys. He kind of just plays a gadget role. First rounder a couple of years ago.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I don't remember specifically who you're talking. Tweet us if you remember.
Yeah, you guys will know. But yeah, he sucks. But yeah, Brown to me is such a bust. But let's get into guys that are more interesting. So we talked about N'Keal Harry, and are you saying you don't think he would not be your top pick, number 1 overall? He would not be your guy.
No, he definitely would not.
At wide receiver. Okay, so who is your number 1 wide receiver? Because I like Harry.
When we're talking about dynasty, right?
Yeah, in dynasty, I want to hold this guy for his career.
Okay, now let it be. I'm taking Parris Campbell.
That's the
guy I want. Parris Campbell is an awesome player.
Let me throw the numbers out here because they are really impressive. 6 feet tall, 205 pounds. 4.31 40-yard dash.
Fastest time at the combine this year.
Not bad at all. He's got size, and the best part, he's playing with Andy Luck. on a team that lacks kind of that position.
Yeah. Now I've mentioned his name earlier in the pod, but this is the supercharged peak Percy Harvin without the migraines. He's on a good offense. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. He can run short slants and take them to the house like Beckham. He can line up in the backfield and take gadget handoffs. Parris Campbell is going to be on the field, and nobody on that team is even close to playing that role. T.Y. Hilton's an outside receiver who doesn't score a ton of touchdowns. He gets his 6 or 7. They added Devin Funchess, who I really like this year as an 8th-round pick to be the big man role. This is a player, Parris Campbell for Dynasty, who's going to be with Andrew Luck for the foreseeable future. You could probably get him at pick 6, which is exactly why number 1 is a little less valuable this year. But that's my favorite wide receiver, and I liked him even before the landing spot.
Leave it to Season Long Says to throw a curveball with Parris Campbell. Now, I'm going to say one thing about this guy. He's drafted late in the 2nd round, and from the research I've done post-draft, my biggest concern, he's got that same concern for me in the fact that he was a gadget player at his college. He was not running a full route tree. He was basically being manufactured these kind of gimmicky 3-4 yard out, take it to the house type plays where, Tavon Austin, that's the name. And actually that actually works for this guy too, where he's not really he wasn't running proper deep routes. He was just, his average depth of target under 5 yards, really, really bad. You're not worried about that?
I'm not. Like, let's talk about if Julian Edelman at his peak was with his 5-yard routes was in this draft. I mean, you would take him at 1. Julian Edelman has been a low end wide receiver 1 for the last half decade. This is the average depth of target. Of course, you want it, and there are a lot of receivers. So again, there's a bunch of receivers in this dynasty draft class that you could take. You just have to pick your shape and size and what you want. If you're in a PPR league and you want to play with a great quarterback and a great coach in Frank Reich, Parris Campbell's your guy. But I don't have if someone says I have Parris Campbell as my number 6 wide receiver, I don't have a good argument to convince them. This is just pick your flavor. I want the guy who I know has a role, who has a good future with a good quarterback and a good head coach. That's my guy.
Let's talk about – let me throw this out there. Let's talk about a guy who does bring pretty much ideal or close to ideal NFL measurables to the table. But maybe his situation isn't so great, and that's A.J. Brown. 225, 6 feet, under 4.5 40, all good stuff. Taken right around the Parris Campbell pick at 2.29, number 51 overall. And unfortunately, he went to the Titans. Now, what do we make of a situation where you like the player, but I mean, Titans.
A.J. Brown landed in the worst possible landing spot in Tennessee where receivers go to die. I mean, Tennessee found a way to destroy Corey Davis. Now, some blame Marcus Mariota. Some blame the coaching system that's been there over the last 3 to 5 years. I don't know what to make of this. Now, A.J. Brown was atop many smart analysts' wide receiver board. He was the wide receiver 1 for fantasy, or at least the top 3. He dropped way down to about 6 or 7 in many rankings. I'd probably have him right in the middle of the top 10, certainly a top 10. Now, answer this question. Forget draft cost or draft position, who's better, Ryan Tannehill or Marcus Mariota?
Man, that's close. I'm sorry, but Tannehill might be better.
That's my point. Like, you don't even know. And just to give context, Ryan Tannehill was traded over to Tennessee to be the backup, but we all know Marcus Mariota is going to get every opportunity to start because they have a first round investment in him, and this is the year they have to decide on him. But that's my point. We don't know. So the quarterback play is pretty shitty. So A.J. Brown is not in an ideal spot. They have Corey Davis on one side. They want to run the ball. Who knows? He could end up breaking out, but that's a quality player. So if you're investing in A.J. Brown, you're investing in the talent, hoping the situation gets better.
All right, I'm going to throw out 2 more names. One which I've been dying to say. And then, two, both of these guys have really good size, really good kind of college career. Both, I think, also part of that 6 of, hey, you might think this is the best guy or the best situation. But I'm going to throw out the first one, Debo, quote unquote, that's my boy Punk, Samuel.
I like Debo Samuel was
wait.
very
You got to do the quote unquote. That's my boy Punk, Samuel.
Well, that's from Friday, right?
Yeah, Debo. That's my bike Punk. Come on, man.
I mean, it's been a while. We used to watch that a lot back in the mid '90s. I think I've watched that.
You should have it memorized, every line.
Oh, yeah, that's not. I mean, I know a lot of movies by heart where I can quote like Goodfellas. I can literally say the whole script as the movie's going on. Now, Friday I love, but it's not a movie that's logged in my memory.
Oh my gosh, it's so in my memory. Wait, I got another one for you. I know I don't want to waste too much time, but
no?
Debo, tell me shut up. And I'll be quiet. But when he leave, I'll be talking again.
Dude, Debo was a scary guy in the movie Friday. Google if you're watching this and you haven't seen Friday, see it. It's on Netflix, on Amazon, somewhere. That's a great movie.
Absolutely. Now he is named Debo after the Debo from Friday, which is why I brought that up. His nickname is that because I guess he bullies people on the football field. Now, this guy, 5'11", 214, 4'4",
perfectly good size.
Ideal size, taken 2.04, so ahead of some of these other guys that we were just talking about. So his team clearly valued him. But my favorite part is on the 49ers. Now, what are the 49ers but a team on the rise offensively? They took a little bit of a hit with Jimmy G kind of losing his season last year, but the 49ers played surprisingly well down the stretch, even with no quarterback last season.
There was positive news. We're recording this on May 2nd. There was positive news on Jimmy G today. His stock's going back up again. So I'm not worried about Jimmy G being at peak performance. If you believed in Jimmy G before the injury last year, you should buy back in now.
I expect it. Now, who are the wide receivers currently for the 49ers? And you don't have to say the names. You could say a bunch of fucking Jags, right? Because that's fun. Right, Marquise Goodman, so? Dante Pettis. No one has established himself as a very good wide receiver on that team. That's what I think. I mean, there's no star.
You don't think Pettis had a good rookie season?
He had a fine rookie. He hasn't established himself as a WR1 in this league.
I don't know. That's my point. Is that Debo has just as much a chance to be a. I just think there's a lot of targets there, and no one has. So, yeah, the opportunity's there for the taking. Kyle Shanahan loved Debo Samuel when he saw him play at some of at the end of the year games, Senior Bowl. But it's a perfectly good pick. He's got to be a top 5 wide receiver in the class. I mean, if you're doing your dynasty draft early, you're kind of just throwing a dart with him because Pettis is there, Marquise Goodwin's there. There's a lot of pass-catching running backs. I mean, they have Jerick McKinnon on that team. They have Matt Breida on that team.
And not to mention, of course, that Kittle is pretty much the de facto WR1 on that team.
I just think I mean, I can't – can you guarantee – would you be shocked if Debo is a wide receiver that gets 5 targets a game or if he gets 9 targets a game?
I could see him also being a WR4 and getting no targets. You don't know. He's not –
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a lock to be a WR3, but at the same time, he has just as much upside. Yes, the floor is low here because, again, it's not established that he will be a starting player on his team. There are other guys there.
You asked me this question. Who's your WR1 for Dynasty?
I like N'Keal Harry. I like him. I like his size. I like his story. I like where he was drafted. I like the team he went to. I love the opportunity. Everything about N'Keal Harry to me is he's the first pick.
So it's funny. You're doing something that I did. I had to train my brain. You're mixing the letters up. You said N'Keal. It's N'Keal.
Oh, N'Keal. Yeah, N'Keal. I'm gonna have a hard time with that.
But you switched the K in the end. I did that for 15 times before I looked at.
I'm gonna have a hard time.
N'Keal Harry. Just call him Harry.
Harry. I'm gonna have a hard time with N'Keal. I will because Neil. The name Neil is spelled K, or you could spell the name Neil Neil, but to Neil you could be Knei. Whatever. Freaking names are they trigger my dyslexia. Now let me ask you this. No, so I like Harry because I like his size, 6'2". I like that he was drafted in the first round, and I like that he's on a team where he is definitely has a great shot. There's no one ahead of him on the Patriots.
Not even Josh Gordon.
Hell no. And hell no, not Josh Gordon. And Josh Gordon, is he still on the team? Josh Gordon is a disaster, right? Fuck Josh Gordon.
Well,
he's a mental disaster.
Oh, come on. The guy's struggling. I love Josh. How can you not love Josh Gordon? He's still on the roster. And
he is Kenny Britt. He is Kenny Britt. Accepted.
Well, Kenny Britt never led the league in rushing and receiving in 14 games.
He did it for 3 games. He did it for 3 games.
14 games. Remember, Josh Gordon that one year led the NFL in receiving, and he only played 14 games. He led the NFL in receiving.
He has smoked too much crack. He's not good anymore. It sucks your energy out of you. It sucks the shit, whatever the fuck he was doing, sucked the talent away. He's just not as good. I don't see the same guy.
Good. I mean, listen, he's not the same guy. And again, the under-over on him playing games this year is 1/2.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I'm not worried about him. But come on, we don't need to talk about silly shit. I'm talking about he has no competition and he's on the Patriots. And as long as Bill Belichick is going to continue to coach the Patriots, and I'm not going to sit here and predict that Belichick is going to retire with Brady and they're both going to hold hands and go off into the sunset together. I'm not going to make that prediction. If it happens,
all right,
not good.
Let me ask you this, because this is relevant to the top of our board discussion. So, with talking about players that may or may not make it back to the NFL, we definitely talk about Tyreek Hill. Now, Tyreek Hill may or may not play ever again. He may not even get suspended. He may have an 8-game suspension. We don't know. But the Chiefs don't know either. And they drafted in the second round, moved up to get Mecole Hardman. Okay, now this guy's a Tyreek Hill clone. Analysts that I respect in this industry, like really look to for information at times, one guy had him as WR1 in this class. Now, I thought that was aggressive. A lot of scouts didn't have a second round grade or a high second round grade in Hardman, but the situation is what it is. If Tyreek Hill doesn't come back, and I guess the under-over for him playing again is probably a half a game.
No, really? I think he will come back.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. But games played in 2019, I think you'd have to set the under-over at 1/2 a game.
Oh my gosh, I would definitely take the over on that. I think he's going to play.
Okay, so fine. So you think he's going to play, so then you would move Hardman down. But let's just say for a second that that Hill is going to have an 8-game suspension or not going to.
By the way, I just want to throw this out there. Hardman, with or without Reek, Hardman's on the Chiefs. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's ahead of him?
Best QB in the
Sammy Watkins, who we know is kind of not good, right? You've got Tyreek Hill.
What do you have on the size profile for Hardman?
A 5'10", 190 pounds.
Okay, so that's fine.
4.334. He's fine. He's a little small. He's a burner. Like he's not.
No. That's Antonio Brown size.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Totally fine. But here's the thing: 4.3340. Taken ahead of some of the other guys that we just discussed, by the way. This is really important. It's funny, like the end of the second round seemed to be like the wide receiver explosion, but this guy was taken ahead of some of the other names that we talked about. He was taken number 56 overall, pick 2.24, young, 21 years old, productive, rushing and passing, multi-purpose player. I like the guy. I mean, I don't know that I want to take him first overall, but I just like anybody who's going to be associated with the Chiefs. And we've seen that the Chiefs do not have a lot going on at the wide receiver position. Again, I think Sammy Watkins, to me, is not like a long-term guy on the Chiefs. He could be gone next year.
Yeah, people are getting aggressive on him in best ball, Sammy Watkins. I'm still staying away.
Yeah, they're getting aggressive because they're talking, with Hill maybe going to be out, and they're thinking, but I've never seen Sammy Watkins deliver consistently. He's been around, going back to the same player and expecting a different result. I've seen it too much with him. He's not going to be the guy, right? But the problem is they got Chris Conley and a bunch of fucking turds on that team. So Mecole Hardman.
No, Chris Conley is now a Jaguar.
Oh, even worse. All right, so they don't even have that guy anymore, which is good for them. Chris Conley is below a Jag, so he belongs on the Jags.
So I have a suggestion for you. So we've talked about the top of
But
dynasty.
I've got one more guy that I think we just forgot about.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I'm not gonna say Metcalf. Fuck that guy, right? I'm not into him.
No, we have to like Metcalf at this point.
I don't want to like him.
Okay,
how about my man Hassan's nephew, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, going to the Eagles, a team that has no wide receivers? Everybody forgot. They don't have anyone. Nothing.
JJ Arcega-Whiteside is a freaking beast, man. And he's but the problem is you're just going to have to wait. And this guy is the perfect dynasty pick in a sense where he is being drafted to be Alshon Jeffrey's replacement. Alshon going into his age 31 season, often injured, okay? Nelson Aguilar is on his way out. He's got a $9 million contract. He's going to be looking to get paid by someone next year. The Eagles aren't going to do it. Okay, Deshaun Jackson's back on that team. So you see they're kind of loaded up front. So Arcega-Whiteside is going to need something to happen in order to crack the starting lineup. So if you're drafting J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, you're drafting him. He is a true dynasty pick. That said, he is a touchdown machine. And in fantasy football, we like that. Okay, I have a great stat on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who played at Stanford.
Yeah.
He is the master of the contested catch. And again, we like that. It means he's uncoverable. So in his college career, he was thrown 22 contested catches in the end zone. Take a guess how many of those went for a touchdown. 22 pass attempts to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside that were contested in the end zone. How many did he beat his coverage and come down and score the touchdown?
I'm going to say 70%.
21 of the 22.
That is a 95% margin. I like it.
Now, on the one where he didn't come down with it, it's because he tripped on the way up.
Was this the guy that you told me reminded you of Vincent Jackson?
Yeah, that's the upside comp for him. I think Vincent Jackson, somewhere between, Vincent Jackson is the guy that I'd say is the upside for him. Peak Vincent Jackson, we were drafting in the second round of our fantasy drafts.
Interesting. In his dynasty, are we talking about dynasty drafts, second round, or are we talking about?
Oh, if you remember, peak Vincent Jackson, we were taking in the second round of our real redraft.
Yeah, bottom of the barrel WR1.
Right. We were if we drafted a running back in the first round, we were happy to get Vincent Jackson on the 2-3 turn every year.
He had a nice run. I think if Arcega, again, that's what I totally agree with is when we're talking about Whiteside, we're talking about a guy who is not going to be super fantasy relevant this year in terms of season long drafts, but an interesting dynasty piece. Let's keep pushing forward. We don't have a ton of time. DK right. Metcalf. So give me the skinny on Metcalf.
Here's my suggestion. We wrap up with the top of the wide receiver board. We quickly touch on the tight end board, okay? And then what we'll do is in our next podcast later this week or next week, we'll hit the middle tiers of all the positions. QB we'll come back and talk about because I think it's a little bit boring this year. We know Kyler Murray, we know Haskins, and then we'll talk about the rest. Okay, come to your question. DK Metcalf, workout warrior. The knock on him, the consensus knock on him is that he only runs 3 routes, straight line, post, and a comeback. Okay, but he landed in the perfect spot. He is now in Seattle. Doug Baldwin almost set to retire because of injuries. Russell Wilson basically runs a hair-on-fire offense where he scrambles and sends the receiver long. This lines up perfectly for DK Metcalf. The scouting report on him also says that he is a plus run blocker, so he's not coming off the field. Opportunities there. Now, again, if you're drafting DK Metcalf and you're expecting Reggie Wayne in year 1, not going to happen. He still has a lot of work to do as an actual route tree receiver, but I think as a dynasty prospect, he's a top 3, top 4 receiver for sure.
You want to hear something fucked up about the way I look at players in the NFL? And I hear what you say, and this guy needs has a lot of work, and he has to polish this or that. You know, my automatic reaction, and this is just me, is if you haven't figured that shit out by now, you're never going to figure it out. Like, if you haven't figured out how to run more than a go route or a hey, go deep and jump up and catch it. I don't think you're going to figure that out at the NFL level. I think you are what you are.
Well, here's the counterpoint. And I'll use a cross-sport reference, okay? Jason Kidd, when he came into the NBA, was this amazing passer and rebounding guard. I mean, he was just the best we had seen at the time. And he came in, he couldn't shoot the ball. He literally was an offensive liability. Okay, by the time Jason Kidd left the NBA, he was one of the most prolific three-point shooters in the whole league. A shot can be developed. Okay, a route tree can be developed. I'm struggling to think of a specific example with a receiver because I wasn't prepared to talk about that.
But yeah, can you give me one? Yeah.
But it's got to be there. And again, it may not happen. But see, the reason a lot of these guys are not forced to explore the whole route tree is because they're so much better than their high school competition. They're so much better than their college competition that they're not forced to. When they get into the NFL, just think about how we used to eat 3 slices of pizza in our 20s and not even give it a thought. But in our 40s, we have to now watch what we eat. I think that the environment and the situation we're in sort of forces what we do. Now, your point is well taken. If you don't have that baseline skill set, you have a learning curve.
And I want to throw out, in the NFL, you don't have the 14, 15 years that Jason Kidd had to develop his three-point shot. Because that's when that was happening, 12, 13, 14 years into his career. And we're talking about an NFL career that you're lucky to get 7 years out of, or 3 for most players, but certainly a good player, if they lasted in the league, 7 or 8 years, maybe 9, miraculous, rarely. So it's not as much time to develop.
Let me give you either or. The exact opposite is the guy who's in the bad situation, A.J. Brown or Metcalf. Who are you taking first in the dynasty draft?
Man, it's really tough. I think I might take A.J. Brown. I think I might assume that his situation, I think he's a better player. I don't like workout warriors at the wide receiver position. It's just not what I'm personally into. And I've seen it fail so much more than it's succeeded. I think that in the National Football League, I'm going to prioritize every time a great route runner over some measurables freak. Because I think that you can't get open in the NFL. The defensive back that's covering you is a fucking freak as well. And
yeah, did you know that? I'm sure the A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf were college teammates. They played on the same team.
See, there it is. I mean, they had Brown out there running the routes against the good corner, getting open.
Well, he was working the middle of the field, whereas Metcalf. I mean, I urge you, flip on. I think your opinion of DK Metcalf will change. I want you to, next time you have a minute, which is never, just everyone's highlights are great, but flip on the DK Metcalf highlights. You're gonna like what you see.
I mean, I'll take a look. Yeah, I'm not saying this is a guy I hate, but am I taking him in the first round of my dynasty draft? No. He's also on a team that doesn't throw volume to wide receivers. So
right, but let's say they throw the average NFL team, a good it throws 600 passes. Let's say they throw only 450 passes. There's no one there at this point. It's him, the other rookie
Tyler
that they drafted, and DK Metcalf. I would say it would be an upset if he didn't get 90 targets this year.
I would be shocked out of my mind if he got 90 targets. Blown out of my mind.
What? Let's make a little bet
I'm
now
open
on
to it.
Podcast. Okay, we'll do this. We'll make a $20 bet. We'll set the under-over at 90.5. You're going to take the under. I'm going to take the over.
All in on that bet. People, listeners, remind us, guys.
Yeah, you know what? We'll say 90 is a push. You're going to take 89. I'm going to take 91.
Absolutely.
Okay? $20 bet. Now, this is just targets.
Targets, not receptions. I'm not. Yeah, listen, receptions good. I don't think any rookie's going over 90 receptions. So.
Okay. Now, what's it called? Let's put in a little injury clause. He's got to play a minimum of 10 games. Is that fair?
I'll do better than that. I'll give you a minimum of 13 games.
Oh, that's even more fair. I think that's a fair bet.
Yeah, I don't want to win a bet because the guy got injured. No.
All right, $20
down.
I'm taking over 90 targets. You're taking under 90 targets, and we're talking a 13-game minimum. I think that's a really smart. I think it'd be funny later on. Let's look up the Vegas under/over on his targets.
I bet it's way less than that. If that's a number, I'm not sure that any books would have such a number. Like that is a very very deep dive prop. right there.
With the legalization of betting, I'm telling you have to see the props that are up on these websites now. It is so sickening. They have like even that would be considered a mainstream prop at this point. It's sick.
I need to check my FanDuel Sportsbook app and see what's going on with these NFL prop. I did see some prop bets like the Jets emerging Jets to the Super Bowl. I believe is 3,700 plus.
Yep. All right. So I have 5 minutes left before I have to run out. So let's quickly hit on the tight end board.
All right. So there's two guys I think that everybody's looking at as the top two guys. I'm already rocking T.J. Hawkinson on my Madden game, and he's kicking ass for me. So he looks pretty good.
Where do you think T.J. Hawkinson slots in Dynasty drafts? Is he a top 5 pick, or is he just more like a pick 11, or is he a pick like 14?
Man, I don't think he gets out of the first round. Let's start there. Okay? I don't think he makes it out of the first round, but where a tight end goes is going to be interesting.
Yeah, you and I play in a format where the points for receptions is 1.5.
Well, forget that. Forget that one. Just even a normal one. Forget that crazy format.
But I'm just saying, that's not even a crazy format. It's becoming a more popular format. If you do play, just let me tell your listeners, if you play in a format like the FFPC or any of those that do 1.5 Hawkinson is a top 5 pick. Just so you know, the upside is Travis Kelce. He catches the football. He run blocks. I mean, turn on his highlight tape, and you're not going to be able to distinguish between him and Travis Kelce. He's a top 5 pick, and I would probably, in a 1.5 per reception, maybe even consider him in the top 4-3.
What about in a standard league? Or PPR, half-point PPR?
Half-point PPR, you just take him where you would take any other strong tight end prospect. I think he falls to the back end of the first round. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes pick 6. But it depends on your tight end need. If you're a George Kittle owner, you're not even looking at him in the first round.
Let me throw this out there because we didn't give the information on the guy. 6'5", 251 pounds, drafted number 8 overall, and he's on the Lions, a team desperate for a tight end to catch touchdowns. So but we've also seen Eric Ebron not do very well with the Lions, and then kind of emerge as a decent player with the Colts. So, situation though couldn't be better. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I like Hawkinson, man. I was in on him no matter where he landed. I was thinking he was either going to go to the Lions or the Jaguars. That's anywhere he goes. If someone's taking him, they're taking him to be a focal point of your offense. You're not spending a top 10 pick on a tight end, a pass-catching tight end, and then just not ignoring him.
All right, so top 5 pick potentially in what about in season-long or dynasty drafts? And we're going to move on to his backfield mate in a minute. But what about in
dynasty drafts?
In draft in best ball. I'm sorry, in best ball right now. Where are you seeing?
He's a top 12 tight end. I mean, I'm taking him as the 12th to 14th tight end off the board.
Trey Burton or T.J. Hawkins or T.J.
Hawkins.
Okay. How about Eric Ebron or Hawkins?
No, Ebron's is a top 5 tight end this year. Hawkinson is a little bit of you're guessing. It's a good guess. It's a good bet. But Ebron is moved into the trustable tight end group at this point, and there's probably like 6 of them. And after that, it's a dart throw. You're going to be playing tight end roulette all year. Do you agree that Ebron's in the trustable 6?
I like Ebron's situation. Yes, I would say you have to put him. I don't have my tight end rankings in front of me open, so
it's the Kittle, Ertz, and Kelce are 1, 2, and 3 in some order. Then the next tier is Hunter Henry coming off an injury, Evan Engram, who did not have a great second season, and Ebron. After that, O.J. Howard is in a crowded receiving core. I mean, that's kind of where we are with it. Ebron, I think, is trustable. I'm not saying he's every week and going to be consistent, but he's trustable. Like, you put him in there, you're fine. You're not going to take him out for the year. It's the guys that you have to put in and take out, and they score on your bench that are a nightmare. I think that Ebron, you put him in there, you draft him in the 6th round, you leave him in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down with Eric Ebron. I'm not arguing that at all. I mean, we saw last year Ebron did a little bit better because Jack Doyle was hurt, but
yeah, but he proved. I mean, he even scored a rushing touchdown last year. He's with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, again, by the way, we'll talk about our redraft rankings. I moved him up to QB1 ahead of Mahomes. We'll talk about that another time. But you're playing.
Wait. We need to have a very big discussion about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, you don't want to mix.
No. That's don't. You can't just be throwing that out there. But
so teasers, the people come back and listen to the next.
All right,
pod.
There is going to be a podcast where Season Long Says argues for Andrew Luck over Pat Mahomes. Stay tuned for that. But
yeah, I mean it's. But yeah, so Hockenson now, the next guy on the dynasty board, I'm assuming you have his college teammate Noah Fant.
Yeah, Noah Fant, good situation, college teammate, goes to the Broncos, similar numbers, 6'4", 250, 40-yard dash, 4.50. Let me look at Hawkinson's 4.7,
you know
so faster on the 40.
Yeah, I was having this discussion with somebody at my office today, and they said, well, Noah Fant can't block well. I said, good. I don't want him blocking. I want my tight end when he's in there to be running routes. I don't, for fantasy, I want a tight end that doesn't block well. I like having Evan Engram.
I mean, you could say I like having Evan Engram, but I like having Travis Kelce too, and Gronk, and those guys can block. But I don't want I don't want the guy that you took for his blocking skills. No.
Yeah, I'm not drafting Noah Fant thinking I'm getting a walk-in Hall of Famer. I'm drafting Noah Fant in the late second round, mid-second round of my dynasty draft, hoping I have a guy that I could start every week in 2 years from now.
Can't complain about a situation. Broncos, not a lot of pass catchers over there. They're getting their program going in terms of their quarterback situation. Not very good, but you do have to say that at least Flacco does like throwing to his tight ends. Give us something.
Yeah, no, I mean you said it all. I mean you hit it perfectly. Fant is a very capable pass catching tight end. Flacco made his living off passing to the tight ends. He landed in a perfect situation. Draft Noah Fant in Dynasty in the middle of the second round or whenever you need a tight end after Hawkinson's off the board.
Now you like Hawkinson specifically a lot more. You think he's got a better shot long term.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hawkinson is good. My expectation, and maybe this is really silly to do, but I'm expecting a really good rookie season from him. And I think we're talking about him as a top 4 tight end next year.
That's bold right there. Very bold. But at the same time, there aren't that many great tight ends. So, it doesn't take that much to emerge as one of the better tight ends in the league because there's just not that. Listen, year one, let me throw one more out there. O.J. Howard or Hawkinson long term.
I'm going to go Hawkinson just because O.J. Howard, I love him. But if O.J. Howard was traded to the Patriots and was playing with Tom Brady, I would love him more. But Jameis Winston didn't really utilize him. Maybe it'll be different with Bruce Arians in town. But Bruce Arians never was known for throwing to the tight end either. They never really had a tight end emerge in Arizona in all his years there. So I'm not too hopeful for O.J. Howard other than being a guy that is very talented, that could be useful in some weeks, and you have to play him every week as your starter. But I'm not that optimistic, whereas I'm very optimistic on Hawkinson. I would take Hawkinson over Evan Engram in Dynasty at this point.
In Dynasty, but what about for 1 year, just like this year?
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about the Giants' receiving core as a whole because, as we know, Daniel Jones, that was drafted in the first round very early on by the Giants. I looked at his Vegas under/over. It's 7.5 games. So if he's playing half the season, I just don't think you can really take any of the pass catchers in the Giants with any confidence at all. So I'm taking Hawkins. 1 year, I guess you got to go Engram. He does have a track record, and rookie tight ends take a little bit to adjust. But Hawkinson in Dynasty for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Well, I lost my train of thought. I don't even know what the hell I was about to say.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's funny. While we're staying on tight end, the guy who I love the most pre-draft, or not the most, I loved Hawkins the most, but the guy who I had number 2 on my board was Irv Smith. He landed in Minnesota, and thank God we're finally going to get rid of Kyle Rudolph after this year. Irv Smith is a beast, man. He was at Alabama. I love the landing spot in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins. Now, Irv Smith is going to take time he's going to go through the regular tight end learning curve where it's a perfect situation. The Vikings have Kyle Rudolph. He's going to learn from a very solid tight end, but Kyle Rudolph's contract is over after this year. The Vikings are definitely going to let him walk. I mean, obviously not definitely, but likely. Irv Smith will take the reign in year 2. This guy can catch. He can do it all. He is his name is Irv. I mean, come on. Irv is just a big badass name. Irv Smith was my second favorite.
He does have some NFL bloodlines too. I believe his father was a NFL tight end.
Is that right? See, I'm usually the one that comes up with those facts. That's a good one. I'm going to have to do some research.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more in depth about the middle of the pack here in the next pod. But I love me some Irv Smith. I'll be waiting. Like, if someone takes Hawkinson in dynasty drafts, I'm going to let the next guy take Noah Fant, and then I'm going to jump on Irv Smith. Now, there's a couple
get him around later. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Irv Smith is coming off your dynasty draft board. Even in, this is a guy who, towards the end of round 2, I could see him going before that, but, I mean, realistically, he'll probably be available in the middle of round 2.
Yeah, and even if Irv Smith gets snaked for me, a player that I don't understand why he fell so much, but Josh Oliver, the player that Jacksonville drafted, he's really interesting to me. Josh Oliver may not even get drafted in a lot of dynasty drafts. He's just going to be off the radar, but Jacksonville needs a tight end. They don't have any pass catchers of note. D.D. Westbrook is their main pass catcher there, or the biggest name or the most upside. And are we forgetting that Nick Foles loves to throw to the tight end?
You're obsessed with tight ends, man. No one loves researching the tight end position more than you do.
I do.
You really do.
Tight ends. I love it because, you know why? It's a place to gain an edge. Most people just punt on tight end if they don't take Gronk, Kelce, or Ertz. I think there's an advantage to be gained with tight end.
Now, there's one other player that you didn't mention since we got deep into the tight end position. And, he just finished celebrating the Passover holidays. That's Jace Sternberger.
Yeah, you got to like
tight
him.
end,
But
Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, no, he's a beast, man. People love Sternberger, and for good reason. His detractors would say about the landing spot, Aaron Rodgers has never had a good tight end since that 1 year of Jermichael Finley. That's bullshit. Sternberger, he's Jimmy Graham's going to start, so Sternberger is a wait and see. He'll go again through the normal growing pains of a tight end. He is the future there. So Sternberger is a perfectly good athletic tight end that you can get in the 3rd round or maybe even 4th round of your dynasty draft. But he's a hole.
This is the stuff you want to put on your dynasty bench. This isn't relevant to season long this year, but
no,
this is the guy you want to put him on your dynasty bench and know, hey, I've got a talented guy on a team with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, with a guy ahead of him in Jimmy Graham that is on his last leg. So I love this. I love this as a dynasty stash as whenever you can get it.
Let's tease the next podcast because we're going to talk about some sleepers in dynasty. Give me one person with a short one-line explanation, and I'll do the same. Either run any position across the board of someone who will go in the mid to second to end of your dynasty rookie draft that you have your eye on. Receiver, running back, tight end. Who's someone that you think you can get a little bit later, you don't have to reach to get, that you're happy to stash?
I'm going to let you go first because you just threw that one at me out of nowhere, and I'm not ready for it. You go first. Yeah, I have a guy. Actually, I'm going to throw out another name, and and I'm not going to throw out the names of guys we mentioned already because we already talked about those guys, right? So I would have said Arcega-Whiteside, but I don't know how late he's coming off the board either. I'm going to throw out.
But that's going to be a first-round pick in dynasty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to throw out one that's not on many radars here, and we'll see what happens. But I like where he was drafted. He's just after this group that's being considered elite, but he came off the board just a little bit at number 67 overall. That's Jalen Hurd from the 49ers. And again, I'm going back to my like of the 49ers as a franchise to produce quality fantasy people without a whole lot of established talent ahead of him. He's just a big dude, 6'5", taken at a reasonable time, a little older, not my favorite, coming out as a senior. But I like his size.
You know, Hurd played running back at one point. I mean, you imagine a 6'5" running back coming at you? That's just crazy.
Maybe in college when you have a big dude like that, they just give you the football and like, hey, no one can stop. He might be almost a hybrid kind of tight end position first team.
He played Baylor. He was at Baylor, I think. I don't have it.
I'm not sure where he. Oh yeah, Baylor. Yeah, and he was their top receiver with just under 1,000 yards and 70 receptions.
Yeah, and again, another crowded wide receiver in San Francisco. I love the player. That's a great pick. But he's got to get some clarity. I mean, they have too many receivers. They have too many running backs. Now, again, not for real football, for fantasy football. I would like to see one of those running backs get traded. I think a great trade right now would be that Matt Breida gets traded to Tampa Bay. That was one that some people have been talking about. I thought that would be a really good trade.
Any running back that shows up in Tampa. I was waiting for Tampa to draft someone so I could be interested in them, but not so much.
Yeah, remind me next podcast. I have a good story about Ronald Jones and why he failed in year one. But that's for the next pod. Okay, my one guy, and then we'll move on. The guy, I mean, this is just based on total looking at past history. Anytime that the Pittsburgh Steelers draft a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, you got to take notice. Diontae Johnson. I haven't done a deep dive on Diontae Johnson yet, but anytime that the Pittsburgh Steelers draft someone, they turned out good. Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown were not early picks. Juju Smith-Schuster was not a first-round pick. I mean, the list goes on and on. Now, of course, they've had
they have their share of turds also. I mean, we all know that.
Right, but they're one of those teams that is known for drafting good wide receivers. I think that Diontae Johnson is someone that I'm going to be looking at if I have a pick in the middle of the second round. That could end up being great. I mean, there's targets to be had there. James Washington didn't show the kind of promise that I think they were hoping in his rookie year. Juju Smith-Schuster moves to the wide receiver 1 in there. There's a space for a rookie wide receiver with high draft pedigree to emerge. And I think that Diontae Johnson is someone that I'm looking at this point of the season to be that guy.
How about a Hunter Renfrow in a similar kind of for the Raiders, a team with no wide receiver talent at all. Not being talked about a whole lot. Late pick. You know, not somebody that you want to take super early, or a little older guy, but at least, you know, he's got a situation that might be interesting.
The problem is, again, right now the quarterback is Derek Carr, but that may not be for very long. They just gave up a lot to get Antonio Brown, who demands a huge target share. 160 targets is probably over for him. And then they signed Tyrell Williams.
Oh, they have Tyrell. I forgot. You know what? Yeah, with Tyrell over there.
So Renfrow, again, I don't. If you want him, you could probably get him with the last pick of your dynasty draft, and who knows? You could be right. So you're throwing darts at that point. But I think there's some other players that we need to talk about on the next podcast that fall into that middle, mainly Hakeem Butler, Miles Boykin. I mean, we could Riley Ridley, who's Calvin Ridley's brother. We're going to talk about that on the next pod. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
We're going to call that the first kind of early 2019, you know, draft discussion post NFL, rookie draft discussion post NFL draft. We'll be back with another one of these. We'll dive even deeper for those of you degenerates that are paying attention to fantasy football this time of year. Season long, man, kept you later than we were supposed to, but really interesting talk.
But I love
this stuff.
And let's do it soon.
Absolutely, we'll do this again. And we'll cover the middle tier, but we've covered the top tier, and we'll go over a little bit more of a real serious dynasty ranking for these guys in our next one. Thank you for coming on the show, Alan, and we'll see you again next time.
You got it, my brother. Peace and love.